Hello there, my friends. Welcome to this single leg balancing flow. For this class, you'll want a couple of blocks and then maybe a strap for the end of class. And we will get started down in child's pose. So you can bring your knees wide, big toes touch, press hips back towards your heels. You can reach arms out in front, palms facing down. Lower your forehead down onto the mat. Close your eyes. Just start to take some deep breaths, maybe in and out through your nose. Allow that inward shift we feel here in our centering at the beginning of class. Today we'll be focusing on a lot of balancing on one leg at a time. And the theme for today is just to keep moving, keep trying, keep flowing. We'll be trying some different transitions using single leg balancing poses. So if you feel wobbly or off balance, just know that you can always, set one leg down, reset, and just try again. It's kind of a motto of life, just keep moving. Take one more breath here. On your next inhale, press down through your palms, lift your head, take your right arm and just thread it through underneath the left into a thread the needle here in our child's pose. So you'll come onto the right shoulder, reach those left fingertips out in front. You can place the right temple down on the mat. Just feel the stretch here. And then on your next inhale, press back up and switch sides. So right arm reaches long, left arm will thread through. Might feel good to come up onto tented fingertips here on that front hand. Kind of help open up through your shoulder on the right side. Just take a couple of breaths. On your next inhale, press down through that right hand, lift the chest, reach that left arm out in front again, and then we'll come up into tabletop. So have wrists under shoulders, knees under hips, and just start to take a few dancing lines. You can circle your body around on the mat, allowing your shoulders to come over the wrists, hips back towards the heels. Change directions if you haven't already. Do about 3 in each direction. Let's come back to a neutral tabletop and we'll take some wrist rocks here. So point your fingertips towards the outside edges of your mat and then just rock your torso gently side to side over the palms of your hands. You can kind of feel here where your wrists might feel a little bit sticky. This is a good stretch. And then can bring fingertips to face back towards your knees. This one can be kind of intense. We'll just slowly reach our hips back towards our heels. Start to draw the whole body back as you lift. Sorry, the dog is in the way. Lift the heels of your hands up, stretching through the fingertips, and then we'll just come back to sit in a kneeling position. That was probably really hard to see. Bailey is asleep in the way. My apologies. Here in our kneeling posture, we'll just take some easy side bends. So bring your right hand down to the side. Left arm can come up overhead, and then we'll actually close off the chest and just walk our fingertips across the front. Cross your right over your left, and then place your left hand down to the side and open up into a side bend on the left. We'll do that a couple more times. So just exhaling forward, walking across, and then inhaling up, getting a long side body stretch there. Let's do that one more time. Walking over towards the left, open the chest up towards the ceiling. And then we'll come back into that tabletop. We'll take some hip circles with the right leg. So keep the knee bent and just circle that hip around, going in one direction. You might hear some popping or cracking like I am right now. That's totally normal, as long as there's no pain. And then we'll reach that right leg long and just take some rainbow. So we'll cross the right toes, tap them down over on the left side outside the mat, and then swing that leg up and around, tap the toes on the right, and just move back and forth here, squeezing that right glute to help you lift the leg, opening up to each side, using that left glute medius here to help stabilize that left leg, since we're balancing on that leg, even here on the shin. Last one here. Let's go to the left one more time. Next time you bring it to the right, take it all the way out to the side. Place that right foot down and then walk your hands forward into a gate pose puppy stretch mashup. Feel a nice stretch going up the inside of that right thigh, opening through the shoulders. Inhale, come back up to center. Place your hands back underneath those shoulders. You can bring your right knee back to tabletop and then take those hip circles on the left. So take about 3 in each direction and then move in the opposite direction. Let's reach that left leg long and take those rainbows. So take left toes over towards the right, tap them down, squeeze that left glute, lift the leg over towards the outside of the left side of the mat. Just warming up our glutes here for single leg balancing poses. Your glute medius, a lot of times that outside glute muscle is going to be the stabilizer here when we balance on one leg. And we'll often be using glutes on the lifted leg to help lift. Next time we bring it all the way out to the left, place the left sole of the foot down, walk the hands out into gate pose, puppy stretch mashup. Take a couple of breaths. Walk your hands back up to center. Bring that left knee in. Curl the toes, lift the hips, and we'll come into downward facing dog. You might want to walk out your heels a little bit. You could wiggle your hips side to side, whatever might feel good here in the first downward facing dog. Keep your knees bent. If you're seeing rounding, in your torso to have the legs straight, keep the knees bent so you can lift your sit bones high and draw in that low belly. Let's inhale and lift that right leg up, bend the knee, take just 2 hip circles each direction here in the downward facing dog. See if you feel anything different here with a little bit of different position. Inhale that right leg up. Let's bring that knee through, plant that foot, and we'll come onto the back knee into a 90-90 lunge. So we'll have knees bent 90 degrees here. If you'd like to place a blanket or something soft underneath that back knee to help pad it, you can do that here. Let's bring the right hand to the right hip and just lean over here towards the right, reaching that left arm up overhead and then maybe back slightly to help stretch this front hip flexor. And then we'll bring both hands to our hips and we'll do a little bit of ankle mobility here. Since we'll be balancing on one leg, we'll be using a lot of ankle strength to help us balance. So a little mobility drill you can do in your 90-90 lunge is to just allow your knee to come forward over the ankle. And just press that back and forth a few times, working on that range of motion in our ankle. A lot of times they say not to allow, you'll hear that in different areas, not to allow knees to come over ankles, but that's essentially a movement that we do when we are walking. So if you don't have any ankle issues or injuries, this one should be fine. Let's do one more. Once we come back to center, let's straighten the right leg. You might need to scoot it out just a little bit to get it straight. We'll come onto the heel, can place hands down on blocks or the mat here, and we'll take an Ardha Hanumanasana, half split here. Toes point up towards the ceiling, get a long spine, and then let's just fold forward over that front leg. Feel a nice stretch going up the whole back line there. The calf, behind the knee, up into the hamstring. Just take a couple breaths here. And then we'll inhale it up. Let's walk our hands over to the right side of the right leg. You can bring your blocks with you if you're using those, and then just kind of press your hips out towards the left. Get a little bit of a stretch here up the left side. This helps us get into the different attachment points here on our hamstring. We'll walk our hands to the inside, press hips over towards the right. A little bit of a different stretch there. More breath. And we'll come back to center, shift the hips forward into a full Anjaneyasana asana here. So our hips are forward now. We're past that 90-90 lunge. Can have hands down on blocks or the mat. Take a couple of breaths here in that Anjaneyasana. And then plant your hands, curl those back toes. Right foot meets left at the back of the mat, back in your downward facing dog. Take any little wiggles here that would feel good. And then let's lift that left leg, bend the knee. Take 2 hip circles on the left, each direction. straighten that left leg, bring left knee in towards the nose, plant that foot, 90-90 lunge on the left side. Pad under that back knee if that would feel good. Left hand to left hip, right arm is going to reach up overhead and then back slightly. Squeeze this right glute to help you feel the stretch on the front of your right hip. Just a couple of breaths here. And then bring right hand to hip, and we'll take those little ankle mobility kind of pulses forward. Allow that knee to come over the ankle, ground down through that right foot. Let's do 2 more. Last one. Once we come back to center, straighten this left leg. You might need to kind of scoot your heel out in front a little bit. We'll take that Ardha Hanumanasana. So hips square, heel down on the mat, toes up, hands on blocks or the mat. Have a long spine and then exhale, fold forward over that left leg. Just breathe here. You might notice a difference. I sure do in the 2 sides. Your 2 different legs, kind of where you feel the tightness, where you might feel more tension. That's all good. It's totally normal to not be symmetrical. We'll inhale and half lift. Let's take both hands over towards the left. You can walk your blocks over if you're using them. Hips out towards the right slightly. Feel that stretch. You might feel this one going kind of more into the IT band on that left leg. Yeah, outside of the knee. And then hands on the inside, hips over towards the left. We'll inhale it back to center. Shift the hips forward into Anjaneyasana. Allow that pelvis to descend down towards the mat. Hands can be on the mat, on blocks, up on your thigh. Just reach that sternum forward. Squeeze that right glute. Take 1 more breath. And then we'll plant the hands, curl those back toes, lift the hips back into that downward facing dog. Any final wiggles. And then let's just tiptoe all the way to the front of the mat into a forward fold. So have feet about hips distance apart. You can keep knees bent. Just release the crown of your head. And then we'll slowly just roll all the way up, 1 vertebrae at a time, all the way to the top of your mat. So you can keep feet hips distance apart or allow your feet to come in together. We'll inhale the arms up overhead and exhale, sit back into Utkatasana, chair pose. So everything is hugging into the midline, inner thighs hug in, belly is drawing in towards the spine, sit bones are reaching back behind us, squeeze the glutes, arms frame the ears. And you can bring your hands to heart center for this one. This one might help with balancing, since we'll start balancing here on one leg, and we're going to just kick the legs out in front. So we'll kick the right leg, kick the left, just alternating side to side. Let's do 2 more each side. Next time you come to the left, keep that left leg out in front. Press up, keep that leg lifting, bend the knee into stork. Ground down through the right foot. And then we'll see if we can swing as we're balancing here. This left leg back behind us into a warrior 3. So hips will stay square to the front. This left hip will stay square down towards the mat. Grab your blocks and place them underneath your hands. And we'll take this as a supported warrior 3 here. So press down through the hands, energy out through that back leg. Squeeze this left glute maximus. And we'll try those rainbows here in our supported warrior 3. So you can have a slight bend in this right knee if you need to. We'll tap the left toes over towards the right and then over towards the left. Let's just do a few of these. Side to side, squeezing that big glute maximus to help lift that left leg, and then you can feel all the muscles on the right leg helping you stabilize. Lift back into that supported warrior 3, and then let's step those left toes back and we'll come into a high crescent lunge. So right knee is forward, we're on the left toes, energy out through that back heel, arms up, framing your ears. Take an inhale. You might want to bring hands to heart center again because we'll do a little bit more balancing here. We'll see if we can shift forward from our crescent lunge here into stork, where we started with the bent leg. So we'll shift the weight forward. You can fold here, allow your torso to go forward. Weight is going to come into this right foot as we launch off that back leg, bend the knee, lift it up into stork. 5 times here, we're going to swing the leg back, land back in high crescent. So let's do this a few more times, shifting the weight forward. 4, Step back to crescent. 3, probably feeling the outer hip here on the right leg, helping you stabilize. 2, kind of feeling the whole right leg actually, everything's squeezing. Last one, we'll hold it into that stork. Take this knee out to the side into an external rotation and then bring it back towards the front. We'll come back towards that high crescent lunge and then lower down onto that back knee into that Anjaneyasana again. Use your hands if you need to. You can have hands under blocks, anything to pad under that back knee if that would feel good. And then on your exhale, shift the hips back into that half split one more time. Fold forward. Notice if you can go a little bit deeper now that we're starting to warm up all the muscles. I've had a few stretches on this leg. And then we'll inhale back forward into that Anjaneyasana. Curl those back toes, a little balance challenge here. We'll see if we can launch back off onto this right foot into just an easy standing split. So you can have your hands on blocks or keep them down on the mat, whatever works for you. See if you can just lift, squeeze everything on this right leg, lift this left leg, squeeze the glute. See if you can keep it straight. Doesn't need to be high. And then lower that left foot to meet the right. Can have bent knees. We'll roll all the way back up to stand one more time. So we'll take this on the left side. So feet together or hips distance apart. I think for the leg kicks, hips distance apart might feel just a little bit better. We'll inhale the arms up overhead. Exhale, sit back into that Utkatasana chair. Feeling my glutes already. Hands to heart center. Let's take those kicks. So start with the left this time. 10, 9, 8. Keep your hips low. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. When we get to the right, keep the right leg out in front. Press down through that left foot, straighten the leg. Bend that right knee. Land in your stork. From here, we'll see if we can shift this right foot back behind us into our warrior 3. So we'll kind of hinge at the hips here. Swing this right foot behind as you keep your right hip facing down towards the mat. See if you can straighten that leg, reach the toes out behind you. Hands can be down on the mat or up on blocks for your supported warrior 3. Squeeze this left outer glute, squeeze the big glute maximus on the back of the right leg, and 5 rainbows. So right foot over to the left, right foot over to the right. You may need to bend the knee in between to help you get those toes to touch down on the mat. I think we've got 3 more. 3, 2, last one. After you've completed your rainbow, bring it back to that supported warrior 3. Plant those right toes behind you. Inhale up into high crescent lunge. Find your lunge here. Left knee is bent, tracking towards that ankle. You can have a little bend in that back knee if that might feel better for you. Take an inhale. We're going to see if we can float up to stork. For some reason, having hands at heart center for balancing feels better for me because I can just press my hands, the left and the right, into one another, and that gives me a little bit of help with balance. So shift forward, weight into this left foot, launch off of that right foot, maybe tap down in between if you need to, lift it up into stork, and then float it back to high crescent. So that was 1. 2, this side is harder for me. 3, let's do 4. This the last one. We'll hold up into that stork. Keep that right knee lifted. We'll externally rotate it out to the side, bring it back to the front. We'll go like we're going back to that high crescent lunge. So reach that right foot behind us, but then come onto the right knee. Uncurl the toes, allow the hips to shift forward into that Anjaneyasana low lunge. Have those blocks by your side there. That would feel good. Allow collarbones to widen. Sternum is reaching forward. Gaze is forward. On your exhale, shift your hips back. Come into that half split. Imagine that you're plugging this left femur bone right back into the hip socket. Toes are active up towards the ceiling. We'll inhale forward back into that Anjaneyasana. Hands can stay on blocks or come down onto the mat. Curl those back toes. See if you can power off. It may take a few hops in between into that standing split. So squeeze this right glute. Keep this leg straight. If it means it's lower, that's totally fine. Work on having a straight leg and squeezing from the glute to help lift that leg. One more breath. Exhale, right foot down to meet the left, and then let's just roll all the way up, one vertebrae at a time. Head is coming last. So we'll inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, fold forward, hinge at the hips, keep knees bent if you need to. Inhale into a half lift, long spine, energy out through the crown of your head. Hands come down. Step your feet back into a plank. Can take a vinyasa here, or just lift your hips to downward facing dog. If you'd like to take a modified vinyasa, you can drop onto your knees, lower through chaturanga. Inhale up through cobra. Exhale, lift the hips, downward facing dog. In downward facing dog, see if you can walk your hands back towards your feet into a forward fold at the back of your mat. And then let's roll up just like we have been, one vertebrae at a time, all the way up with your head last. Can inhale, arms up overhead. We're standing at the back of the mat. Exhale, sit back into that Utkatasana, that chair. Bring hands into heart center. And then we'll shift the weight into the right foot. Lift this left leg behind us, almost like we're going into a warrior three, and we'll take some curtsy pulses. So we'll start to bring the left knee behind the right as we bend the right knee, taking little kind of curtsy squats here. We'll do 5 of these. 3, 2, losing our balance, maybe. Last one here. Let's lift this right knee back forward into that stork in front. Using this hip flexor, balancing. Shift the left leg behind us back into that warrior three. Plant your hands down on the mat. Bend your knee if you need to. Walk the hands out into a one-legged plank. See if you can keep this left leg lifted. Challenge here to take 1 push-up, chaturanga push-up, back up, and then walk the hands back up into another standing split. Maybe a little bit higher this time as we're starting to warm up. Squeeze that left glute. And then just bring the left foot back to meet the right and roll all the way back up. 1 vertebrae at a time. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, come into that chair, that Utkatasana. Draw the belly in, sternum reaches forward. You can bring hands to heart center. Shift the weight into your left foot. Reach that right leg behind you, almost like we're going towards warrior three, but then start to pulse. Right knee behind left, curtsy squats. Find your drishti, find your focus point. That certainly helps. 2 more. Last one. And then see if you can reach this right leg all the way through. Bend the knee. Use that hip flexor. Draw it in into stork. Shift it back. Warrior three. Foot reaches behind you. Right hip faces down towards the mat. Plant your hands. Bend your knee if you need to. Walk the hands out into a one-legged plank with the right leg lifted. Challenge here for a chaturanga push-up. And then press it back. Hands. Walk back towards that left foot as the right foot lifts into standing split. 1 more time. Exhale, right foot meets left. Roll all the way up, 1 vertebrae at a time. And then maybe take a minute and shake out those legs. I know I'm feeling all of those stabilizing muscles on mine for sure. Let's inhale, arms up overhead. Shift the weight into your right foot. Lift that left leg back into stork. We're doing a lot of stork poses today. This is kind of our single leg balancing transition. We'll straighten that leg out in front of us. Bend it in again. Let's do 1 more straighten. And then plant that left foot in front of us, about hips distance from that right foot. We'll take a pyramid pose here. So hands can be on hips. Hips are square to the front. Hinge at the hips, fold forward on your exhale. Hands can be on blocks here beside you, and then release the crown of your head. See if you can bring that left hip back as you bring the right hip forward. Feel that stretch going all the way up the back of the left leg. This one feels so good, I almost don't want to come out of it. This is a wonderful stretch. Let's inhale, half lift. Shift the weight into your left foot. You can bend the knee slightly. We'll lift up with our torso as we lift this right leg up into stork in front of us. Hands can be at heart center. Straighten that right leg in front of you. Kick the heel all the way to the opposing wall. Straighten it one more time. Plant that right foot. Feet are like on railroad tracks. You can turn the left toes out slightly. Inhale the arms up, and then exhale. We'll hinge at the hips, fold forward. Back into that pyramid. Couple of breaths. Check in with those hips. Bring left hip forward, right hip back. Try to imagine that your sacrum is flat. On your next inhale, half lift, and you can just step this left foot to meet the right in the front at the front of your mat. Fold forward. You can have bent knees. Release the crown of your head. Feel a nice stretch up the whole posterior chain of the body, all the way from the backs of your heels up over the crown of your head. And then on your next inhale, just start to roll all the way back up. One vertebrae at a time. Head is last. Bring hands to heart center. Lift that left leg back up into stork one more time. And then let's externally rotate that leg out to the side. And then as slow as you can, let's step back to Virabhadrasana 2. Almost like you're moving through honey. Thick, thick, thick. Step this left foot back, bend the right knee, land in Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. Shoulders stack over hips, arms reach out in opposite directions. Scoop this right hip underneath. From our Warrior 2, we'll move into Ardha Chandrasana Half Moon. We're going to kind of move like we're moving through honey again. We're going to take this slow. If you know you need a block under your hand, you can go ahead and have that handy there at the front of your mat. We'll start to cartwheel. Shift the weight into your right foot. If you need to scoot this left foot back in a little bit, you can grab that block if you're using it and just slow. Start to lift that left leg up. Press your hand into that block or fingertips into the mat. Open your chest up to the left. Lift this left hand up. Flex that right foot. See if you can hold this. This is our single leg balancing challenge class. So if you fall out, just hop right back in. Keep trying. We're going to take some knee bends here with the bottom leg. Just little tiny bends. Let's do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you're still there, see if you can do 5 leg lifts with the top leg. 5, 4, 3. Squeeze this glute medius. 2, 1. And then slowly, like you're still moving through honey, see if you can step back into that Warrior 2. Take a breath here. Flip that front palm on an inhale. Reach this right arm up overhead. Nice side stretch on the right side. Exhale, right forearm to thigh. Reach the left arm up overhead, side angle. Long line all the way down the left side of your body. Chest rotates up towards the ceiling. And then on your exhale, cartwheel this left hand down. Spin onto your left toes. Your hand can be on a block or the mat. Come into a revolved lunge. Inner thighs squeeze in. Exhale this right hand down. From here, we're just in kind of like a low runner's lunge. And then we'll step forward, kind of launching forward into a single leg balance again. We'll take like a one-legged forward fold. So we're folding forward over this right leg as we're lifting this left leg. Instead of taking a standing split, just see if you can bend the knee and start to bring the left heel towards the glute. Doesn't matter what this looks like. We're just working on kind of balancing here in that fold. And then lower that left foot down to meet the right. Take a two-legged forward fold. And then roll all the way back up to stand. We'll try that on the other side. I had to think about what side we were doing. So let's shift the weight into the left foot. Reach that right leg up into stork, and then we'll take that external rotation, and then as slow as you can, start to slowly bend that left knee. We're shooting this right leg behind us. This is a weird position to be in, so let's take it slow and gentle here. Just kind of feeling all those muscles that sometimes we just swing right back. We don't feel those muscles activating and helping us open. Arms reach in opposite directions. Check in with those shoulders. See if they're down away from your ears. Gaze can be over the front middle finger. Check in with that front knee. I know I need to. Make sure that it's trekking over the ankle and not collapsing in or reaching out. Flip that front palm. Actually, no, we're going to go to half moon. I forgot our half moon. We have to do that. That's the hardest balancing part. Okay. Grab the block if you need it. Hip hop this back foot in a little bit if you need to. And then slow, like we're still moving through that thick honey. Start to lift. Squeeze it all in. Lift this right leg. Press down through the block. Squeeze both outer glutes. Engage all of those muscles. Flex through the right foot. Open that right arm up. See if you can balance here. We're going to stay here for a couple of breaths as we take those little knee bends. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Maybe 5 leg lifts. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then slowly back to our warrior 2. See if you can hang there in the air for a moment. Land back in that warrior 2. Take an inhale and an exhale. On the next inhale, flip front palm, reach up into that reverse warrior. Stretch the left side of your body. Keep this left hip scooping underneath. Exhale, left forearm to thigh. Reach that right arm up, overhead side angle. Imagine that you're revolving your chest up towards the ceiling. On your next exhale, cartwheel this right hand all the way down next to that left foot on the mat or a block. Spin onto those back toes. Open the left arm up into a revolved lunge. Exhale this left hand down. We're in that runner's lunge, and we will see if we can launch forward into that one-legged forward fold. So we'll launch forward, weight going all the way down through that left foot. See if you can fold your torso forward over that left leg as you lift that right heel towards the right glute. Kind of squeezing all of that in. One more breath. And then lower that right foot to meet the left in your forward fold. Take a two-legged forward fold, maybe a wiggle, maybe a little release there. And then inhale, roll all the way back up to stand. One vertebrae at a time. You can move props out of the way. One last little balance challenge here, and it'll be on both legs. We're going to try a toe squat. So we can have our feet close together, probably not hip distance, and then maybe having them right next to each other might be a little bit too difficult. So I like to have a little bit of space between my feet for a toe squat. We'll inhale the arms up overhead and then come up onto the balls of your feet and then check in with those ankles. See if, as you rise up onto your toes, this is something I struggle with for sure, if your ankles are collapsing out or in. See if you can have those ankles be straight. This is such a challenge. And as you're up there on your toes, trying to keep ankles straight, start to bend your knees, hug that belly in towards the spine, start to bend your knees and lower your seat. You'll be squeezing everything, hugging it all in. Start to lower down to where your hips are going towards your heels. See if you can keep everything lifted. If you can't, that's all good. You can just collapse onto your seat. I'm about there. And then we'll come down on to your seat. Use your hands if you need to, always. Let's take a Navasana here. We'll keep feet down on the ground, balance on your sit bones, palms can reach out in front, sternum is lifting, collarbones widening. We'll start to reach back, and then in this Navasana with our feet down, we'll just start to lift first one knee and then the other in towards the chest. If this is feeling like a challenge for you, can just stay here. If you'd like, you could start to work to straighten one leg in. If you want even more of a challenge, you can balance on those sit bones and work to straighten one leg at a time. So whatever you're doing, let's do like 6 more. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Feet can come back down onto the mat if they're not there already. Scoot your seat back just a little bit. Let's straighten that left leg out in front and then bring the right sole of the foot to the inside of the left thigh. We'll take a Janu Shirsasana here. If you'd like to use your strap for forward fold, now is when it will come in handy. So we'll ground down here through the sit bones. Get a long spine first. Just imagine all the energy going all the way up through the crown of the head. And then align your torso. This might be such a micro movement that you might not even notice, but you can feel the shift. Align your torso over that front leg. Sometimes, when we're sitting, that leg is not really at the midline of our body. So align it over that front leg. Inhale the arms up, and then exhale, hinge at that hip, start to fold forward. Use your strap around the sole of your foot if you would like that. And then release. You could have hands on your ankle. You could wrap them around your foot. You can close your eyes here and just take a few deep breaths. You can work to draw your belly in towards your spine to kind of help you compress and fold forward. Maybe just a little bit further over that front leg. On your next inhale, you can slowly start to walk back up to center. And we'll take this into a half Lord of the Fishes. So you can start to bend this left knee. Just bring this right heel towards the left hip and then cross that left leg over the right. If that's a little too intense, you can straighten this right leg underneath. And then take a moment to get that long spine again. Reach this left arm up overhead and then twist towards the left. Place the left fingertips behind you and then hug this left knee into the chest with your right arm. You should feel a nice stretch on the outside of your left hip. That feels quite nice after all of that single leg balancing, all of that glute work to stabilize. On your next inhale, let's come back to center and we'll switch sides. So you can reach that right leg long, left sole of the foot to the inside of the right leg. Grab that strap if you'd like to use it. Take that tiny little torso shift over that right leg. Inhale the arms up, and then exhale, hinge at your hips as you start to fold forward. Imagine that you're not reaching just for the toes, that you're reaching all the way across the room for something else. We're looking even past the toes as we reach. And kind of once you reach your edge there, you can release the hands down, release the neck, fold forward over that leg. Take some deep breaths. Last one here. On your next inhale, you can slowly start to walk that torso back upright. Bend that right knee a little bit and then scoot that left heel underneath towards the right hip as you cross the right foot over that left thigh. Straighten out that left leg underneath if this is a little too pretzel-y. Or reach that right arm up, long spine, and then twist towards the right fingertips behind you. Hug that right knee in. As you hug it in, you should feel that stretch on the outside of the right hip, the glute medius, even into the glute, lower back. Can gaze over that right shoulder. Just breathe here. Let's do one more breath. Inhale it back to center. You can uncross the legs. We'll roll all the way down onto our backs and just hug the knees in towards the chest once you get down on your back. Maybe break your microphone in the process. As you're hugging your knees in, maybe roll out those ankles. Just roll them out in one direction and then the other of those ankles. We're sure helping us to stabilize in all of those balancing postures. All right, let's reach left leg long. Keep that right knee hugging in towards the chest. Grab that strap again if you'd like to use that for a reclined big toe to hand, hand to big toe pose. Other ways, you could grab the outer edge of the foot. You could grab yogi toe lock. You could just reach behind the calf or the shin, whatever feels good for you. So we'll just work to straighten that right leg up, draw the foot back towards the face. Try to keep shoulders relaxed. You can open that right leg out to the right. I like to keep my left hand on that left hip to remind it not to kind of follow that right leg, but to stay grounded. Help us get a good stretch on the inside of the right thigh. Let's bring that up back to center. Bend that left knee and place the left sole of the foot down on the mat. Bend your right knee and cross that right ankle over the left thigh. Press that right knee out and away from you. Keep that foot flexed and then hug this left leg in towards the chest. You can grab behind the thigh or the front of the shin, taking this into a reclined pigeon. Should feel another good stretch on the outside of that right hip. Can continue to roll out that left ankle if that would feel good here. And then we'll drop this left foot down. Take both knees over towards the right. You can keep that cross in the leg. If that's too intense on the knee or the hip, you can take that off and just press both knees towards the right. Otherwise, squeeze this left glute, open up through the left hip flexor here. If you're taking that foot off, it'll look like this. You'll just be squeezing that glute still and pushing both knees towards the right. Let's inhale it back to center. Hug that left knee in. Reach that right leg long. And then we'll take this into our reclined big toe to hand or hand to big toe. It's kind of called either way. So strap around the sole of the foot, yogi toe lock, grab behind the leg, whatever feels good for you, and then draw those left toes towards your head. A couple of breaths. Keep your right hand on that right hip and then open that left leg out to the side. Let's inhale that left leg back to center. Bend the right knee, place the right sole of the foot down. Bend that left knee, cross that ankle over the right thigh. Take a moment to really press that knee out and away from you before you hug that right leg in towards the chest. Keep that left foot flexed rather. Kind of help protect our ankle there. And then place that right foot back down. Keep that cross in the legs or let it go if it's not working for you. Allow the knees to fall towards the left as you press onto the inner edge of that right foot. Squeeze that right glute. Open up the front of that hip. That one feels awesome as well. Let's inhale it back up to center. Hug both knees and you can take a full happy baby, Ananda Balasana here. You could grab outer edges of the feet, yogi toe lock. Strap around the soles of the feet and then draw knees in towards armpits. Feet are parallel to the ceiling. And then try to keep your shoulders and your sacrum reaching down towards the mat. Relax through the shoulders, relax through the neck. Can bring knees back into center and we'll just reach our feet down towards opposite corners of the mat. If you do not have a furry companion in your way, towards our Shavasana. So lift your chest, tuck shoulder blades underneath, arms reach out to the sides in opposite directions. Just allow those fingers to curl in naturally. Close down your eyes. Maybe tuck your chin, tuck your chin slightly in towards your chest to kind of elongate there through the back of your neck. Release your jaw. Release any control that you might have had on your breath. This class might have been challenging for not only your body, the physical part, but maybe even for your mind. You're not used to, moving through certain poses, just balancing on one leg. So give yourself credit here for trying, for falling, for getting right back up, and for kind of going with that intention or mantra that we stated at the beginning of class to just keep moving. That's kind of a theme that we see all throughout our lives. Obstacles are in our way, and we just keep moving. I will invite you to stay here in your Shavasana for as long as you would like. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. Namaste.